And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Awaken Live podcast. This is episode 26. We've got a really awesome special guest today, Jedd Johnson from the Diesel Crew. We're excited to have him on. Guys, make sure everybody's going out to the website, checking out. We have just got a ton of new material popping up every day. Podcasts are cranking out. We've got new videos, exercise of the day. And also, if you're in the shop, make sure you check out the new latest edition of MadFit magazine. We've got a promo code right now, MadFit10, all caps, MADFIT, the number 10. That'll get you 10% off your subscription to the next edition. So anyway, without further ado, welcome to the show, Jedd Johnson.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, man. I appreciate it. This is pretty cool.
And no problem, man. You've been on my list and radar to get on the show here for a while. And I thought it'd be kind of perfect timing with, let's cut right to it, your latest strength feat, man. That was pretty awesome.
Thanks, dude. I've been working on that for a really long time.
So let's tell people what you did. And, well, first off, let me introduce you. Guys, I know Jedd through this grand online community of unconventional dudes. I've been following him for a while. And this dude, his specialty is grip, man. He's a strong dude, but he's all about grip. And we're going to talk about grip and the necessity of grip. If you want to be overall strong, you got to work grip. This is the guy we needed to talk to about it. So that's why we're here today. But for those of you that didn't catch it, pinch grip, 2 of the old school York 45s. They're about 2 inches a piece, right?
Yeah, dude.
So 4 inches total, and he pinch gripped these things, 90 pounds each hand. And I'll let him tell about it from here on, but it was just unbelievable, guys. We're gonna make sure we get that video up too.
Yeah, so like you said, it was double old school York 45-pound plate pinch. So what that means is I had 2 45-pound plates in each hand, and they were smooth sides out. So I'm not talking about you're putting the flat sides inside and then grip onto the rims. You don't really have any ridges to hold on to with this feat of strength. So you're really just putting your hands on the plates and then clamping them together as hard as you can and trying to lift them up off the ground. And to give you an idea of how tough this is, I was just at the FitCon in Dallas, Texas, a couple weekends ago, and there were guys that could not lift 2 25-pound plates off the floor. And these are just like your regular conventional plates that you would have at a gym. There were guys that couldn't lift 2 25s. So I've been,
and those are only like 1.25 inches thick, right?
Yeah, man, they're not super thick at all. They might be, total, they might be 2.5 inches thick. So these 45s were, roughly 2.5, 3 times that thick. They're usually plates are like usually 1.25 inches, and then these are a good solid 2 inches a piece. So throw in the fact that it's 90 pounds per hand, you've got no handle, totally smooth, and you've got to also contend with the inside rim around the outside edge of these plates is only about 3/8 of an inch thick. And compare that to like regular plates where it's like 1 inch or maybe more of a rim. You just don't have the contact area. So if you get off center, if you're not like totally driving the plates straight on into one another, they will slide right over top of each other. So it makes the feet just really, really hard. There's been about 5 people that have lifted 1 pair at a time. So no one has then been able to do it 2 at a time, 2 pairs at a time. The difficulty level just escalates once you have to rotate them off to your side. So it's even above and beyond the regular feet.
Yeah, I was gonna. One thing I noticed is it was off the side, and most of the pinch grip demonstrations I've seen have been in front, sort of your hips behind you. And so you just sort of just leverage up with the hips and just have the hand strength to do it. But you're right; most of them seem to have been either single hand or double handed in front. But with both hands.
That's right.
So I thought that was interesting to have it outside. It was absolutely amazing, and I know you're emotional. Let's talk a little bit about what was with the obsession for this. I mean, why chase this goal for so long? I mean, I really think it's important that you have goals. But you've worked on this for what, 2.5 years or something like that?
Well, I in 2013 in November I was able to do it for the first time with one hand, and so you're looking at about 3.5 years since then, and that's how long it took me to do it. The the allure or the attraction of this feat. I've just seen a lot of people talk about how it might never be done. Richard Soren is, I believe, he's the first person to really even consider this as something to pursue, and he has pictures of him lifting one pair of old school Yorks dating back to, I believe, the 80s. But many times I've seen him write that men have tried and failed to lift two pairs. So it was even this feat was even a main attraction at his Summer Strong extravaganza that he put together at his compound. It was in Irmo, South Carolina at the time, but I think he may have changed the location now. But one of the top three strength feats that were going to be attempted was the double old school York pinch, and it was going to be done by Chad Woodall, and he got them off the ground multiple times, both sets of plates, and he was able to lift the plates one hand at a time multiple times as well, but he wasn't able to lock it out. That was 2011. So yeah, and now with it being 2017. It'll have been 6 years once Summer Strong rolls around again since that was even attempted. So you're just talking about something that many people haven't even really pursued because they just never reached that level. Most people won't be able to lift two 45-pound plates that are more of a conventional size that are only 2.5, 3 inches in size, in spacing. So I think it's part of it's mental. And the other thing was I really did want to attain something in my life that nobody else had ever done, and I didn't want it to be a combination feat. So there's probably dozens of things that I've picked up where I've had one thing in my hand and another thing in my other hand, and nobody's done that, but that's mainly because they don't have access to those implements. There's been plenty of people that have had access to old school Yorks and haven't even been able to do one pair. So that's a little bit about that.
That's awesome, and that's a cool little history about it. Man, I love hearing and learning about any of the strongman feats. To me, strongman training has been such a big part of my own personal growth and my own strength gain over the last decade. It's been awesome. So when I see other people do stuff, it gets me excited.
Yeah,
and to be the sole owner of a feat, that's impressive.
Right.
That you're not even in Rare Company; you are the company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, best of luck to those that are going to chase you. All right, you're the pioneer. So, best of luck to the others, and may it stand forever.
Yeah, I think it'll happen this summer when Chad Woodall goes to Summer Strong again. I think he'll be able to do it. This was probably just a mental kick in the butt for him. He and I are really good friends, and he was one of the first person that I told about the feat, and he congratulated me. But I'm sure that he kind of sees it as an opportunity where he could have done something first and kind of let it slip through his fingers, if you will. So
literally,
yeah. There was a time, I don't know, man. I want to say it was a good year ago. I'm not sure, but I think I put up a video of me pinching the old school Yorks again with just one hand at a time, and he texted me and said, "Hey, you don't be going after my feet now," or something like that. So
that's funny.
I didn't really let on that I was going for it, but I kind of put out hints. I kind of put out hints along the way, and I never heard anything. So,
Right. And well, you know what though, a little bit of friendly competition. Never heard anything. I've always found that the camaraderie and the community in the strength sports, all strength sports, really has been nothing but kind and encouraging. There's a little bit of there, but it's not the egos that I've seen in other sports. I've done some Highland Games stuff and just a wonderful community there. Um, so anyway, cool. So let's get into the let's get into the Q&A here. Let's from your I would say you're an expert on grip. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I want people to hear that from me, from the show, giving you sort of those accolades. Why is grip so important, and why should people train grip aside from, okay, some people say, well, I did deadlifts today, so that was my grip training. Why is it necessary to really focus on the grip separate from just what you're doing?
Well, your hands touch just about everything, and they influence just about every single lift that you do, whether it's pull-ups and you want them to be able to do, a set of 10, but your hands slip at set 7, rep 7, or even if it's bench press and you want to be able to control that bar path as much as you can. Even on squats, man, you want that bar to stay put where it's supposed to be, and you want to be able to squeeze that thing hard, create radiant tension, and all that stuff. There's a lot of benefits to grip, but at the very least, it's just because you're using your hands in all these endeavors. I mean, we can go all day with all the different sports and having strong hands for each individual sports that a person plays, but in the weight room, it's your main contact point, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't agree further. But that also, I think that is some great perspective. As simple and as blunt as that is, that your hands touch everything. I still think people just overlook that fact. They're too busy thinking about, it's my lats that are doing this or my glutes are doing this. But I always say, look, if you can't hang on to it, you can't lift it.
Yeah. It's true. If you can't lift something, hold it, and control it, then you're at a definite disadvantage compared to someone else who can. I don't have the research in front of me, but it goes as far as I've been told by other people who have done research, doctors, that grip strength is actually correlated to rotator cuff health. And if your hands are weak, if they're lacking the proper strength, it can actually cause injuries up the line, up to and including rotator cuff injuries. So it behooves you to make sure that you take out all those weak links. And in many people, their weakest link is their grip.
Yeah, we started doing something real simple over here at Asylum Fitness several years ago, with just in the warm ups, just having people hang from a bar, and mostly because it's just a great way to decompress the spine. I've got people that come in from sitting at a desk all day, so first thing I want them to do when they come in here is take a load off that spine. So we'll have them hang, feeds the shoulders, really good nourishment for the shoulders. But you see, when they start this, and I start this with everybody that's a beginner, the grip is the absolutely just in your face limiting factor. I mean, people they can only hang out for like 10, 12 seconds. And then, within a short amount of time, it's 2 minutes is just a piece of cake for most people. There's their hands get stronger, and their grip increases. But the relationship between the grip and the shoulder is very obvious in a dead hang position, right? You can't get that benefit of that shoulder health if you're not able to grasp the bar. And I did read a similar study to what you said. And then I also saw a recent study where the grip of the average male has weakened significant in this generation right now. That it's no more than what did it say? It's compared it to, like, I think they said basically if something like that, a housewife of the 50s had a stronger grip than the average male in their 30s today.
Right.
The age, decade, housewife of the 50s, as in the time period,
right,
and a male in their 30s, as in their age and demographic. And it was something as simple as, like, I think the title was something like "Can't Open the Pickle Jar Anymore" or something like that. And I found that to be, again, we talk about this a lot on the show, but a byproduct of society. People just aren't doing stuff with their hands anymore. And that goes back to your first point. You use your hands for everything.
Well, they're doing stuff with their hands, but it usually ends up being a game controller or their phone.
Right. And so it's not grip. They're not out there chopping down a tree.
Right.
So what are some let's talk, man. You got one of the coolest setups I've seen, man. Your gym reminds me of it just reminds me of that quintessential garage gym setup that you want to be in when you're about 18 years old
Hmm.
and you trying to get around some iron. But you've got some funky things in there.
Yep.
You've got some different things in there. Talk about some of your funky tools that and you alluded to it earlier. You have access to stuff that other people don't. But let's talk about some of these funky things, the blob, some of these other things
Right.
um, that people don't have access to, and why.
Yeah. So probably the thing that people see a lot in my videos, and I talk about this quite a bit, is gripper training. So I have a ton of hand grippers. All kinds of companies make them now. There's more companies than you can even point out these days. Lots of people jumping on the gripper bandwagon and making it a product that they can sell from their, in their company. And those are, I've often called those a gateway drug. It's kind of like alcohol or marijuana leading eventually to heroin use or whatever, how that goes. But when you get started with grippers, man, it gets so obsessive. It gets so like mind consuming. Like, why can't I close this gripper? And they make grippers, man, that no man in the world will ever close. The springs are just so thick. There's just no way that anyone is ever going to close those grippers. But I'm talking about heavy duty grippers where the spring is made out of steel in a coil. It's not the things that you'll buy at Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods that my daughter that's 7 years old can close. These things are heavy duty, and most men are not able to close what's called the number one gripper, which is one of the lowest grippers. Most women can't close a trainer. So it gets to be pretty frustrating when you think you're strong and you've been putting in years and years of training and you can't close the number one gripper the first time you're handed it. I know I couldn't when I was first handed the gripper. So, that's all I could think about for like 2-3 weeks until I finally closed it, was the fact that I wasn't able to smash those handles together. So that's one thing. Another thing that I do a lot of, you mentioned blobs. Basically, a blob is a block weight, and a block weight is pretty much anything that's shaped like a block that you would put your hand on and lift in a pinch grip. So the most famous block weights are heads from dumbbells. So basically, if you have a dumbbell that breaks in your gym, don't throw it away. Instead, try to pick it up in a pinch grip. It's a great way to train your hands in the orientation that your hand is in when you lift on a block weight. You're able to strengthen your thumbs, your fingers, the lumbrical muscles of your hand, the wrist muscles, and you can even put on some size on your forearms if you do it enough. So they're definitely a good tool to use. But if you don't have a broken dumbbell, then you can just stand one of the dumbbells that you do have up on end, if you have like a hex dumbbell, and just grip it in a claw grip like that, and you're going to get very similar benefits to training with a block weight. So those are a couple things right there that people can get access to on the cheap, because grippers are only about $20-25. So go ahead and buy like 20, and then hex dumbbells. Heck, you probably have them in your gym or at wherever you go and train anyway. So try and use those.
And they're easy to come by. I got a set behind me. I'm sitting here at the studio. First time I've done a podcast here instead of the home office. And
Mhm.
it was just given to me. People, they buy these things that, I don't know, they buy these things. And I've got my set free. I've got 2 other clients that got a set free
Mm.
of, full set hex dumbbells, because people buy them for at home and then they don't use them and they want to give them away. So,
Yeah.
uh, everybody listening, just look on Craigslist or something. You can definitely find something like that. And,
Oh yeah.
or like you said, go to your frequent gym. This is an unconventional podcast. So if you're going to a conventional gym and they've got some broken dumbbells, do what we do best in the unconventional world. Think outside the box and say, hey, can I take that off your hands so you can work your grip.
Yeah.
And then you go in there, show off later when you're doing bending the bar with your hands.
Yeah.
So who do you work with, man? You coach some people. What's your clientele like?
Let's see. I have a whole bunch of youngsters now, man. I've got five kids that are between 10 and 12 years old. So they come in 3 days a week for half an hour, and we're really working on the strength basics for them. We do some grip
Right.
stuff, but it's more like just general grip, just strengthening their hands. Nothing specialized like feats of strength or steel bending or anything like that. It's all very functional stuff that'll just help them in many other areas of their training. I also work with a couple adults and a few athletes from the area. So baseball players, track and field, both jumpers and runners and throwers. Um, I've worked with football players, lots of wrestlers over the years. My groups are small. I only have a 2-car garage, so I don't take a lot of people in here. It's pretty it gets filled up quick, especially with older kids. So
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
understand. I've got 500 square feet internally, and then like a half acre outside. So
Mhm.
I totally understand. It gets tight with about 8 in here.
Yeah. I like to cap mine off at 5, especially with that youngster group because they're so new. So and they get distracted easily. So I had to take my speed bag out of the room because they were running around and jumping and trying to do like the Roman Reigns Superman punch and stuff like that on the speed bag. So I had to get rid of the speed bag. Platform's still there, but the speed bag is in the other room.
That's funny. Like having a bunch of bird dogs.
Yeah.
Um, that's so with the younger crowd, it's basics, and then does anybody come to you, specifically for like, hey, I want to go after a feat of strength, and you kind of narrow that down, or how does one go about that? Pursuing a feat of strength.
Yeah, nobody really comes to learn that. I have some people that come and do some training every so often, and it's usually just like a little get together, not instructional or anything like that. We just push one
Gotcha.
another. Um, to learn feats of strength, I've actually got all kinds of products that I sell, DVDs and ebooks that really map the way to success with different feats of strength: steel bending, card tearing, ripping phone books, braced bending with things like bending hammers and wrenches, those kinds of feats, and also scrolling, where you would take a big long bar and wrap it up into several coils, that kind of stuff. So I've got all that. I also do for more personal interaction. I do virtual coaching, where I do programming with people. They send me back their results. We do coaching calls every 2 weeks. I'll do video analysis where if they need me to look at their form on something, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll shoot like an analysis video and things they can do to clean up their form. Because a lot of times the people that I'm working with, they're able to make really big jumps soon on things like especially grippers, because their technique is usually off. And believe it or not, on grippers, there's actually a lot of finer points that you want to follow in order to close big grippers. Otherwise, your technique is just filled with energy leaks, and you can't really maximize anything. So
Interesting.
that's another valuable piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see some techniques in that. And we'll while we're at it here in the conversation, we'll make sure that we get our viewers and listeners access to all that stuff of yours, so that that you can benefit from it and they can benefit from it. We like having coaches on here that do different things, and we like for the coaches that do different things to have the people that need them to be able to find them and use their resources. So that's cool. You got all that stuff. Um, that distracted me from my point. I got so excited about your ebook there on the gripper thing.
Yeah.
But so anyway, right then. So specifically, yeah, I think these feats of strength. It's I really see them coming back, man. I see a revival in the strength community, and I have over the last couple of years where, for a while everybody got into it. Everybody got into mobility and almost hyper mobilizing, and it was sort of backing away from some of the stuff. I was guilty of it myself to a degree. I always kind of found it. I define myself as a movement and strength coach, so it's sort of both, right? And so I want people to be bendy and be able to do funky things and have fun with their body, but I also want them to be really, really freaky strong. And so it's and I never left that that love of strength, because that was always my first love. Um, but it's pretty cool and exciting now through social media to see what I would say is a revival with strength stuff. I've never seen so many people picking up rocks in my life, and that's awesome. I've never seen people, so many people bending wrenches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not that many people that do it, but there's enough on my Facebook feed to be like, oh wow, cool. A lot of people are doing the interesting stuff, and it sort of went away for a while, right? We got so caught up in the bodybuilding and the gyms that nobody's doing that stuff in the gym, but now it's coming back, and yeah, I think guys like you are right where you need to be, in helping other people realize that it's awesome to be strong and to be able to do stuff that other people can't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I agree. There's definitely a resurgence going on right now. There's lots of people that are certifying on the red nail, that's the main certification for steel bending. We just had there was a big thing called the steel shredder competition, which was basically you take a bar that's between 10 and 14 inches long, and you bend it back and forth over your leg until it snaps in half. And that got a lot of people involved. There was a lot of social media presence about that. And also this year, there's going to be more grip contests than there's ever been as long as I've been in the sport. I've been doing this since 2003. And there's grip contests taking place all over the place. We're seeing some happening on the West Coast more frequently now. I've traveled around and done a few myself in different spots all over the country the last few years. And, I'm excited because I'm seeing the sport grow. I put a lot of work into this behind the scenes, and, it took a while, but now we've got some synergies going on with other people that are also highly motivated. So that's made a huge difference.
What does one do at a grip competition? I know everybody's wanting to know.
Yeah, man. So if you've ever seen a strongman competition, it's kind of like that. So there's usually 5 events, and each event tests a different discipline. So almost always, if grippers are involved in a competition, they're going to take place first, and that's called crushing. So dynamic strength with your fingers is called crushing. The next event is usually the pinch event, and it's usually either one-hand pinch or two-hand pinch on an adjustable device, so that everybody can use their best thickness on the unit. With enough time on a device, you'll be able to find out what the best width is for your hand size. So having an adjustable device allows you to tailor your attempts to your best width. So it's a really fair way to test it. In the past, we used to use just what we call a ghetto pinch, just 245s on a pipe, with a pipe going through the center. Now we have an adjustable device with a pipe going through the center, and then weight is then added onto the pipe in order to add weight. The third event generally is a supporting event, which is a static gripping with the fingers. And pure support would be something like a deadlift on a barbell. So we usually do like open hand support on an axle, which is usually like a 2-inch bar, and then that's done lifting it to lockout. From there, a lot of times you'll see some kind of a wrist event. Maybe there'll be some steel bending in there. Maybe there'll be some kind of sledgehammer lift. All kinds of different events out there that have to do with forearm and wrist strength as a specialty. And then usually for a big contest, if there's a 5th event, usually that's going to be a medley, which is a combination of, it could be 10, it could be 50 items that you try to either pick up or load onto a platform or carry, or maybe you have to, bend a bar or whatever. But there's all these challenges that you have to do one after the other. It's kind of like a marathon of grip strength, and there's a time limit that you have to do it all under. So it could be a minute, could be 4 or 5 minutes, could be longer, just depending on how many individual challenges are in the medley. So you've got, you could have 3 to 5 events. You get a score on each of those events, and then you get a composite score at the end based on how you did on every single event, and whoever's ahead at the end wins, just like strongman.
That's awesome. I think I've actually seen a clip, and maybe you posted, of that medley thing where it just seemed like there was a whole lot going on at one time. But yeah, it's definitely definitely cool. It's something I'd be interested in learning more about and maybe trying out. It's always cool to learn and develop areas that you're not superior in.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, where are you located at, man?
I've got great crush strength, but I don't have the pin strength. I've got
Yeah.
some finger dexterity, um, static stuff, but then perhaps not being able to lock out a thicker bar, like a 2 inch bar. You know what I mean? So
Right.
definitely, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Well, I know there's a contest. There's Nationals is located in Nashville, Tennessee this year. I don't know about any contests going on in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, or anything like that. Mainly for the Southeast, you're looking at the Nashville. But I was going to say, if you were in the area up here, you could stop by sometime. I walk you through some stuff, brother.
Where are you at again?
I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm almost up in New York State.
Okay, yeah, right. We'll next time I'm up that way, we'll make it a trip. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in this as a coach. I'm probably not alone in this as a unconventional practitioner. But it's just like this ultimate dream would be just to travel around and hang out with all these different guys,
Right.
just for like a weekend or something. And we talked about this, I think, three shows ago, and maybe 2 shows ago. That's actually sort of the new way of really learning a lot, and it's, to me, it's a little bit more superior than, going to a weekend seminar where there's 200 people participating. It's like, man, if you could just go to the dude's home gym or something and just hang out with him for a weekend.
Right.
How much you would learn. I always give this credit. I got to spend some time with Dave Hedges while I was in Ireland. I stayed with him for a few days. I was only in his gym 2 or 3 different times and definitely picked up some things, but it was just being able to have that many conversations, sort of an open-ended conversation over the course of 5 days.
Right.
It's a head full of knowledge, and that's a really cool way to learn things. And I know it works well for me and probably works well for others to be able to hang out with somebody and pick their brain and do some stuff with them. Have them dial in those, fine-tune those things you need. Because there's nothing like hands-on support.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's actually how I got started back in the day when I first learned about strongman sport and grip sport. Grip sport. Anybody that's followed the dieselcrew.com website knows I used to be all over the place. We'd go visit people in New Jersey. We'd go to Maryland, Southern Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts, Ohio. We'd go all over the place picking brains and getting experience. And back then you couldn't buy a log at 500 different websites. You could only get a log from like Elite FTS, or if you knew somebody that knew how to weld, you might be able to get one. But we had to make friends with a lot of people in order to get stuff because nobody else really sold anything. So it was tough. So, we went around, we trained with people, we picked brains, and some of those people I'm still friends with them to this day. I mean, we were able to build relationships with people, because you're everybody's sweating, bleeding, together on the same implements, working your ass off, and you become like brothers. So, yeah, it's a great way. It's a great way to learn versus the totally impersonable, fitness seminar where you go and you sit in the same spot for 3 days and get pitched to death by a bunch of marketers. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, look, to our listeners out there, look, we are not saying that there's not benefit in going to these seminars. I've been to plenty of them. I've been to a lot of workshops. You sit down. I've had some aha moments in them. What Jedd and I are saying is that you cannot beat, just getting in a dirty gym with somebody that's been doing it a little bit longer than you, has a little more experience, and getting your hands dirty. That's what we're saying. And I tell you what, though, you're right about the equipment, man. It is so hard to get the equipment. Even today, I feel like it's just easier to know somebody that either makes it or does it because, I mean, you start throwing in shipping and trying to get it to you. It's just brutal, man. Versus like, hey, here's some. How do you make that, or will you make that? And sometimes you've got an idea for a piece of equipment that nobody's making, but you want it to be special for some objectives you have, and that's where it pays to know a welder or something like that. But
Yeah.
I had this guy. He used to make strongman equipment and Highland game equipment, and I wish I'd have got more from him while he was still doing it. But he said he did it for the love of the sport, and he was amazing. I wish, like I said, I wish I got more from him before he got out of it because he never really did it for profit. He made me a power log, a circus dumbbell that's loadable, a prowler sled, two or three Atlas stones, and a loadable hammer. He made all that stuff for me for 500 cash.
Nice.
I mean, and he brought it down to me too on the trailer.
Wow.
The guy delivered it. So it's so what you said, man. Knowing people and in the strength game and strongman equipment, it's hard to come by because you go online and you don't know what you're getting online. There are some really good sites. You've mentioned a couple already, but then again, it's a matter how do you get something that weighs 200 pounds unloaded to your doorstep. But yeah, that's just a cool way. That sort of nomadic student traveling, learning, moving around, and that's the way it used to be. And again, we go back to this theme of revival in this sport we're talking about, strongman. There's definitely a revival for all of it, everything about it, the feats, the way people learn, the equipment. I feel like everybody's got an Atlas stone now in their backyard.
Yeah, there's a lot more of them out there, that's for sure. And you see a lot of it. I see groups popping up on Facebook, and see lots of it more often now on Instagram and things. People training these non-conventional forms of training, Atlas stones, strongman, feats, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's exciting and encouraging. What else are you guys? What are you got up to? Any projects right now? I mean, I know you just did your big strength feat. You got anything else in the works now? What's next? What's next for Jedd Johnson?
Well, for a lot of years I worked on the grip sport style stuff and feet strength stuff, but lately I've been seeing a lot of questions on just like more conventional types of strength training, like deadlifts. People are dropping deadlifts, and they're unable to progress in their programs anymore because the weights are so heavy and their hands are just not strong enough to deal with that weight. So one of the next things that I'm going to be releasing is a program on how to improve your deadlift grip so that you can overcome those issues. Because luckily I've never had the problem of dropping deadlifts. I've got pretty good sized hands, and I played a lot of sports as a kid and all that stuff. So I don't think I've ever dropped a deadlift due to my hands giving out. But I have a lot of friends that I've trained with over years that they get past their knee. It's just might not go there. Their hands are just not strong enough. So I figure that's going to be one of my next releases. Maybe not the very next, because I've actually got a couple other things that are finished. I just need to push them out there. But the next thing that I work on to bring to completion is going to be a deadlift manual and program.
Yeah, well, let us know when you do that. We'd love that. We'd love an article on the deadlift, and then we can certainly put your program right there at the bottom of it for people to have access to. But yeah, that would be a killer article. It's everybody knows the deadlift. Not everybody does it well. Very few do it well, and very few really understand the importance of the deadlift. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just do it because they're supposed to do it. Oh, it's a big lift, but to really understand that the deadlift is so foundational to all other strengths. Mm-hmm. And people forget that. I am as unconventional as it comes, but I've never walked away from the deadlift. It's always been a foundation. It's always there. The rocks and stuff are super fun. It's a totally different kind of strength, but you got to have a good deadlift in your back pocket. And I always tell people, I was like, you should be able to just walk up to a bar that's got a sensible amount of weight on it, obviously not a PR, and pick it up. You should have that kind of this everyday, on-demand type strength. I'm a big believer in that sort of. You don't need to have a warm-up or anything like that to pick up something that's heavy. You should just be strong.
I like that. I like that concept, on-demand strength. That's cool.
Thank you. Look, we got about 5 more minutes here. Is there um, anything you want to ask or throw out there to our audience that you think you feel it's on your heart or brain that you want everybody to hear?
Well, I definitely encourage people to try out grip. I've got, I've got thousands of videos up about grip training on YouTube. I just shot 5 more today to accompany this interview. So they are going to be coming out soon. My channel is just Jedd Johnson, JeddJohnson. So you can type that in after youtube.com and I think it'll come up. Or just search my name, Jedd Johnson and grip strength, and it'll definitely come up because that's by far the biggest topic I cover. But yeah, I invite everybody to check that out and subscribe. I just logged in this morning and saw that I got 8,000 subscribers. Just got 8,000.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I was in the 7,000s for I don't know how long, and I just looked and it estimated my subscribers at 8K, and I was like, whoa. So I logged in. I was like, sure enough, 8,000. So I was pretty excited about that. And like I said, I put out videos quite often. Probably 50% are like just footage, but a lot of times those are used to accompany with articles on the website as well. Plus, I do a thing called Cooking with Napalm. So like, you know, dude, I can't just do one thing. I like got all this nervous energy. So even when I'm out grilling, I'll do like Q&A videos that I'll upload onto my site as well. So I invite your listeners that might have questions about grip to go ahead and say, hey, I was listening to Mark's podcast and I had a question on this, and let me know what it is. And I'll be glad to put a little preferential treatment on those questions.
Oh yeah, dude, that's funny, man. You so remind me of myself in some ways. I always have to be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man. Cooking with Napalm. What a great title too. That's funny.
Well,
I don't recommend actually using real napalm.
No.
Title, guys.
When I sent a video into WWF for the first Tough Enough back in, I want to say 2000, 2001, and I wanted to come up with a character that was different. And at the time, I remember Kane had just set his hand on fire for some reason, you know, a couple years before that. And I was like, well, no one's really a pyromaniac in wrestling. So I called myself Napalm Jedd, and I set my hand on fire using antibacterial hand sanitizer. So, you know, alcohol based, it'll actually burn. So Napalm Jedd was the name, and I celebrated my victories in matches by setting myself on fire. I sent that tape into Tough Enough and never actually heard back. So I figure it probably got lost in the mail because I'm sure Vince McMahon would have jumped on that one.
You're the second person that has done semi-pro or professional wrestling on the show. Jim Romig actually did it for a while.
Well, I'm not the second person, dude, because I never got involved. So I never went to school or anything. So I never got into it. But I have a great deal of respect for professional wrestlers. People call wrestling fake. It's not fake. It's predetermined. But those guys are all athletes. They take risks, more risks than NFL football players take. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for pro wrestlers, both from the athletic aspect and also the choreography and acting aspect. I mean, they're true professionals and athletes.
Oh, we talked about it back when we did the show with Jim. You know, of course, now these guys make ridiculously good money, but back in the day, you know, early Hulk Hogan on the road and stuff like that, these guys were, and it was bust your ass at a show, doing this just crazy hard physical job to perform, drive through the night to the next town, and I mean, it was just this wear and tear on your body type lifestyle, and they were doing it because they loved it. They loved it. You know, it had nothing to do with money. These guys were not making. Most of these guys were going backwards in money.
Yeah, that's still going on to this day, man. The independent organizations out there. These guys have full-time jobs and they do this stuff like a couple nights a week and on the weekends. And they used to have like 2 cents a mile. I remember they called it trans. so however many miles it was, you would owe the guy that drove the car 2 cents per mile. So that's how the driver would actually make like a little bit of money is by charging the people for riding around in their car. So they wanted to be able to get at least 4 people in there.
That's crazy. Yeah, one of the guys that I worked with when I first had my job at Gold's Gym way back in the day, he was one of these, weekend warrior wrestler guys in a small public production, and it was funny because he invited me to his retirement match, and he knew he was going to retire. Well, he acted like, well, if I win, I keep going. If I lose, I retire. But
Yeah.
he already knew it was. He knew what the script was. But it was funny because he's one of the nicest human beings I ever met. But he was playing the villain in the wrestling match, and to try to picture him as the villain, it was just so hard. But he did a great job, and it was so fun. And you just saw how much these guys love doing it. And afterwards, everybody's all hugs and smiles and
Right.
how's your family? How was this week at the office? And it's just like they're just normal guys.
Right.
They just freaking love smacking each other and getting sweaty and jumping off ropes. I mean, it was just awesome to see that. And they did it in front of there was like 130 people there. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
This ain't a sold out crowd. It's a hole in the wall dump armory in a town that's super crappy south of here.
Right.
And that's what they did, man. And you're right, dude. These people do it. I think that's the way it is with any sport, man. These strong people do strongman. They don't make money. If you're gonna do a sport, chances are you're doing it because you love it.
Right.
Even at the highest level, you got into it because you love it. And it's hard to say whether some of these guys would or wouldn't do their sport if they weren't making really good money, like say baseball or the NBA or something like that.
Right.
But I would say that they probably would find some way to play it. And for them, it did turn out to be lucrative. But for a lot of the other sports, there's not the audience or the following. So it does come down to love and passion and obsession. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the show and throughout the show. It's just this, chasing goals and chasing a love of moving iron, bending stuff, and picking stuff up.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I mean, I think, if you think about when you were in a spelling bee or something like that when you were a kid, I mean, it's a rush. And if you come out of that and you're like, wow, that was awesome. I just did well. Maybe you were in a magic show or maybe you were in a play at school or something like that. And those guys get to experience that kind of rush every single time. So I think that's a big part of it. There's a rush, and you've seen your heroes do it ever since you were a kid, and then now you're doing it. And it doesn't matter if you're wrestling in Madison Square Garden or some armory in a small town. Once you're in a match and you're a pro wrestler, you will always have been a pro wrestler. That's what it's all about. So I have a lot of respect for those guys.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Well, Jedd, thank you for coming on the show. That's our time. I got to get ready for the next show coming up. But I want, real quick, you said it earlier in the show, but just at the end of the show, we like to have people list your YouTube channel one more time, where they can find you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, your website. Go ahead and spit all that out.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you. My website is dieselcrew.com. Diesel, just like the fuel, crew.com. So check that out. That's all free. My YouTube is youtube.com/Jedd Johnson. I have no idea what it is for Facebook. No idea what the address is, but I'm on there. And two D's and Jedd at all times. And I'm also on Instagram. So I think that's jedd.diesel. So, yeah, I invite everybody to follow me and send me a message. Let me know that you're a friend of Mark's or a listener, and send me a question on YouTube. Just leave a comment. Really, don't even have to send me a message. Just go to YouTube, find one of my videos. You got a question, say, hey, I'm from the podcast, and leave your comment. And I'll eventually answer your question on Cooking with Napalm, brother.
Sweet, man. Awesome. Well, Jedd, thanks for coming out on the show. And hopefully our paths cross. And I get some training in with you. I'd love to work that. And
Sweet.
You've inspired me. I'm gonna focus a little bit more on my grip. I get a fair amount in with some of the stuff I do, but I'm gonna isolate a little bit more, get a little bit more specific. So thanks for the encouragement and the motivation.
Yeah, dude, for sure, for sure. I wish you the best with it. If you do get doing stuff, I want you to have fun and enjoy it. So if you have questions, let me know.
And I will certainly. And thanks to all our listeners for tuning in today on the podcast. You guys have a good rest of your week. Thanks.